G'day everybody and welcome to Andy's Motorcycle Obsessions. Alright, so basket case, got a top end rebuild. We've got it tuned within an inch of its life and it's going really hard. The only problem that I've got at the moment is that the clutch can't hold it. So I'm getting quite a bit of slippage. You notice it, I guess, when you really get hard on the throttle and it starts to free rev, you'll really pick that up. But there's other areas through while you're driving that I know that this clutch is starting to slip a bit, even though you may not pick up on it straight away. Why? Why essentially because it's a 37-year-old clutch. When I put it together, I measured all the clutch specifications in terms of the thickness of the friction plates, checked for warpage of the clutch plates, and to see if they were turning blue. I had blue spots on them from overheating. That wasn't happening. The free length of the springs was fine, so I put it all together, assuming that it was going to be okay. However, over time, those friction plates will lose their coefficient, and they will start to slip. So what to do? Well, I was a little bit torn. I looked around for quite a while at options, and ultimately settled on a brand new Barnett Kevlar Clutch Kit. And the clutch kit contained friction plates, clutch plates, and heavy duty springs. Now, it's probably overkill, but the price was okay. I could have just bought a new set of friction plates, standard friction plates, and put heavy duty springs in it, and it would have probably held it. But like I said, the price was right, so I bought the Barnett kit, and I'm going to throw it in now. So I've got them all out of their packets. They've been soaking in oil for a couple of hours, so I'm going to start pulling this clutch apart, and we'll see if we can't get a little bit of friction happening again. Alrighty then. So what I've drained the oil out of the sump, and I've tucked this rag up in under here because it usually spills oil all over my frame rail when I remove this side cover. So we just need to start stripping that apart. Trying out a chest mount. Hopefully it works okay in terms of perspective. While I've got this in this position, I'm going to release this nut. This is the adjuster for the free play on the clutch. And I am going to release it because I'm going to replace this assembly. It's a little bit dodgy, and seeing as we're putting a new new heavy springs in there, we probably want to err on the side of caution and just replace it. Just going to back this center adjuster off. Now, if you're just replacing the clutch, you don't need to replace this actuator. However, like I said, it's a little bit dodgy. This one's not so bad. Oh, it is. It's cracked. I don't know if you can see that, but this is fractured through here. And the pin's quite worn, so we'll put a new one on. Right, part number 4X716340-00, one piece. Voila! Nice. Alright, so we might as well just hoik that on there. Pull that the other way because it's got to come out anyway. It's nice and firm on there. There is a bit of play in that shaft too, quite a bit of slop actually. We could probably do with rebushing or machining out and putting a bush in there. I'm not going to worry about it today, but maybe another job for the future. Alright, let's get this cover off. It comes away reasonably easily on this bike because I don't glue gaskets on. And 9 times out of 10 your gasket will break, and this one has. So we need to replace it. Can go in the bin. Alright. One clutch exposed. So now I have to remove these 6 retaining bolts on the pressure plate and start pulling the pack apart. A bit of gasket there. You've got to make sure that you get the old gasket off both surfaces. Anyway, we'll worry about that later. These pressure plate bolts are easy to snap, and it's also important that you take them off evenly. So take out wind it out in a star-shaped pattern, going diagonally opposite each time, trying to reduce the impact of the spring load on these fragile die-cast, zinc die-cast aluminium. You notice I called it aluminium because that's what it is. It's not aluminum. I don't know how you guys came up with that. Alumina is a product that aluminium is made from. You get everything else right. Cadmium, titanium, just can't get aluminium. One clutch pressure plate. Factory springs. Okay, so next step is just to get this tab washer out of the way. One dodgy old screwdriver and one knockometer. Now we need to get this retaining nut out. 27mm impact socket and impact gun. If you don't have this, actually prior to doing that, what we need to do is pop 2 springs, one opposite each other, and that should stop it spinning when we go to undo the bolt. Now if you don't have the luxury of an impact gun, when you go to undo it with a breaker bar, it's likely to try and turn through the gearbox and turn your back wheel. So you need to put it in gear and jam a piece of timber or something in between your spokes and your swing arm to stop it from turning around. Alright, we can now, there's a little washer in here as well. We can now remove the entire clutch basket assembly. Right. Okie dokie. Now, this first disc in line has an anti-judder assembly behind it. Let's just pop that there for now. Let's not pop that there. So, they recommend that you don't actually remove it. This wire, there's a wire clip in here, and it pops through here. And it retains everything in there. And just looking at this plate, it actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to follow Yamaha's advice and just leave it in there. I don't think that one plate's going to make one iota of difference. However, so what you need to do, gee, these are, I don't know. As long as you can feel that with your thumbnail, you should still be okay. But what I'm going to do is remove this pack and replace it, obviously, with a new one. So in order to remember what order it all came out in, I'm going to keep them in order, so I can remember what the first thing was that I put in there. And that's it. There's our bottom plate, pressure plate, okay. Friction plate. They don't matter which way they go. Let's try and keep them all roughly in line. Makes life a bit easier when we're trying to assemble it all. But these ones, and of course you want to bath it in the same oil that, as long as all these I think are going in the same direction, you want to bath it in the same oil that you use in your motorcycle. So in this case it's Yamalube 4-stroke mineral oil. Wunderbar. Right, there's a washer that goes on here. Must not forget. Pug hair. Okay, so the washer's in the back there. Let's just put those two factory springs and bolts back in to the clutch basket so it all stays together. It's sort of bouncing off that oil pump drive. It's actually the gear itself, there it goes. The gear itself is on the shift linkage shaft. Right, the washer back on. We also have a brand new Yamaha part number 90215191139. One new washer, because the last one was getting pretty bloody tired. I'd used it a few times. Gets done up to 50 foot-pound. So it's done. Good. these guys out. Brand spanking new Barnett springs. Just comparing them, they're a couple of millimetres longer. And they feel stronger. Just try and squish them in my fingers. Super important that we try and do these up evenly now. All that extra weight squishing down. Alright, so now they've all bottomed out. You should actually torque these up to, I think it's about 7.2 foot-pound. But I don't have a low-range torque wrench, and you don't want to try and pull them down at the bottom end of a large torque wrench, like a tender, or that big half-inch drive one I've got, because all you'll do is snap the bloody bolts off. So just use your feel if you don't have one like me. Right, new clutch in, simple as that. So now we just need to put the cover back on. Stops dripping oil everywhere. Put the cover back on and start making some adjustments. Before I put this cover back on though, I'm going to change the sight glass because it's pretty scabby and quite frankly gives me the irrits. So I've got another one there, a brand new one I bought from Yamaha, but I'm going to try and tap that out now without busting it. So a bit of scout around. I don't really have anything soft to knock it out with, so I'm going to go medieval on it. Well, it survived. So it's here with the new gasket. Shiny. Might just put a bit of rubber grease on that. Yep, now it's definitely seated. Wunderbar. That spring hooks up over part of the casing there. It sits into a bush, but you want some preload on the spring. So, I mean, I don't have a Kickstarter, but one of these days I'm going to do that. Fit one all in place. Right. Let's check this now that we've been playing with it. It's got to contact the pressure plate, and you want to back it off a quarter of a turn. And it's obviously important that it doesn't turn when you're tightening it. The lock nut, that the screw doesn't turn. Right, free play set. So you also obviously set your free play at the lever, but this is the bottom end of the free play that needs fit setting. So I'll make sure I've got a bit of play up here. All good. Okie dokie. All that's left to do now is pop this cover back on, fill it with oil, and then we're good to go. The eagle-eyed among you will notice that the skull cover is gone. My wife won the argument. In fact, I think the comment was, what are you, 12? So, common sense prevailed. Alright, throw some oil in there. My favourite oil. Well, geez, I should have shares in this lot. I'll tell you. Because I don't run any air filters, stupidly, I need to change my oil quite regularly because it goes black. Of course, all the dirt's being sucked into the top of the motor and turned into carbon. Nice hard carbon, which is what diamonds start out as. Really good to have in your engine. Don't know whether or not you can see that clearly, but sight glass is lovely and clean. Makes it nice and easy to see the oil level. Alright, so we have exchanged the clutch, friction and clutch plates, new springs, new oil, and a couple of other nice to have little bits like a new actuating lever for the clutch and the new sight glass for the oil. So all that's left to do now is go and do a road test, so I better go and make sure that this thing grabs okay. Let's go. Pushes the back suspension down, actually tries to drive the wheel into the road. Holy crap. Man, I've been missing out. Happy days. So I've got a lot of grab now. It's unbelievable, actually. I think that clutch has been slipping for so long and you just don't seem to notice it, but now you just feel it push you back in the seat every time you get on the throttle. So really happy. The front wheel's coming off the ground through the first 3 gears, which is, I mean, I don't like wheel standing bikes, but you know, it's sort of, it's just controllable. It just carries the front wheel, and then when you change gears you feel it come back down again. But no, very happy. So now I've got a bit of clutch. The next thing I want to do is go to a local bike shop here and put it on a dyno meter, and we'll see what sort of horsepower we can get out of this thing and make sure that our carburetor tuning is right, so that we've got the right pilot jets, right main jets, and that our primary circuit is in the right place where it needs to be. Well, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, and come back next time. We'll be back for more with Andy's Motorcycle Obsessions. Bye for now. Okay, this is it. It is a 4-inch GPS speedo with a stepper motor tachometer in it. And I like the look of it because it's like the old speedos on the Vincents of yore.